We have become zombies. Really, at this point you have no name, no personality, nothing. You're just a robot. So they push you, and now comes the processing. And the processing goes in the following fashion. They put you into this big room, and now you have to totally disrobe. Totally. Put your clothes down, fold it down, and when you have a shower and come back, you will retrieve your clothes. Forget it. This was lie number 7,700 because there were one lie after another. We have never ever seen that clothing again. Now we are stark naked, and the shower is another thing that one has to understand the contrast between the shower in America and the shower there. They herded you into this large room, and on the ceiling there were about 50 shower heads, and literally trickle of water was coming on you. No soap, no towels, and that's it. That was your shower, if you were lucky enough, because the shower meant something else. So from here they took you into another room where the girls were screaming, the ones who were in front of us earlier, and we couldn't understand why are they screaming. And then we looked at them, and we burst out laughing like one of those psychotic laughs, because they looked so funny. See, their hair was shaven, and they were crying. Now remember, I am 17 years old, and all 17-year-old girls are totally involved with their hairdos, and all of a sudden they just come and they literally take it off. Not only did they shave our hair, but they shaved our body hair as well, and to add insult to injury, they put disinfectants on the freshly shaven skin, and that is pretty bad. From here came our clothing, and that is an indescribable phenomenon. You stand in front of a mountain of clothing, literally a mountain of clothing of all kinds. Person behind it throws a garment at you. They never look whether you're small, large, skinny, fat, whatever. They just throw a garment at you. I was the lucky recipient of a long slip. No bra, no panties, no stockings, no shoes. So later on they give us those Dutch wooden clogs for shoes, and that's it, that's our wardrobe. Now from here, we are already beyond exhaustion, and now they shove us into this large room called the barracks. And it's nothing but an empty room with a wooden floor, and it has just windows, nothing else. Now, the capacity here is enough for 200 people, but they managed to get in 500. And even that is scientifically planned out, because like the sardines in the can, they lay us down on the floor, and then these wooden clogs become our pillows. And as far as blanket or other luxuries, there is none, so your body heat next to you gives you a blanket, or creates warmth.
Were you mostly with other young, like Hungarian women at this point?
Well, yes, because you see, the mass transportation out of Hungary meant that there were as many as 5 to 7 transports per day arriving into Auschwitz, which meant that they were mostly Hungarians, because they were so busy with that segment. See, all the other Jews from the other countries were already incarcerated or killed. So Hungary was the last stand, and that's why they were able to do such a powerful job. I can't find the right word, but anyhow, that's how they were able to move things. The crematoriums were working 24/7 because of the people. I gave statistics earlier of 440,000 being moved out of the country. Out of that, they eliminated, or killed is a better word, 375,000. So all this had to be done, and it was done very scientifically.
Did you have any idea what was happening in other countries?
No.
Beforehand?
We had no idea what was happening anywhere else. we were hoping that the war is already coming to an end. See, Hungary was really very euphoric in the winter of 1944. Already the Allies were in Africa, and they were already approaching Italy. So, matter of fact, in June, when the Normandy invasion came, that was the time we were already in the ghetto. So we figured if they are that close, maybe there is some miracle. But that's why they worked so fast to get rid of us, and the Germans put more importance into killing us than fighting the war. Because a lot of German men who were supervising us could have been soldiers on the front. Well, that's how it went. So now came to the bedtime, and the bedtime, well, we were exhausted, that's needless to say. We haven't eaten for days and so forth. And there's another expression that I want to describe, and that is the bathroom facilities. There's no such a word as bathroom, but we understand. A bathroom was, but it was called a latrine. A latrine is nothing more than a giant hole dug outside in the ground, and they had wooden planks across it, and then circles carved out, and that's where you took your business. And then there was no windows, there were no curtains, there was no privacy whatsoever. There was no toilet paper either. There was no water to wash your hands. I mean, it was beyond primitive. So during the night, they wouldn't allow us to go to this latrine, but they gave a bucket and they put it in the corner of the room. I don't think that needs any further description. Now came the crack of dawn, and at that point, it was, an order came in. See, we were supervised by a prisoner who had been there for like many years. So this was like an elevation for them. They got another crust of bread or whatever. So they were in charge of us besides the German guards. So their order was to get us ready, get us moving from one place to another and so forth. So the crack of dawn, she would wake us up, and we would have to go out into the giant yard to line up to be counted. Now here I must stop again. They woke us up, but there was no such a thing as washing our face or brushing our teeth or any of the modern luxuries or changing clothing. We were in the same wrinkled clothes, etc. So now they start counting us. And the counting was a painful experience because here we were a group of 500, and this guard is counting us by hand, and heaven forbid the number was off, like 500 got to be 497. She would start counting again. See, we had nothing to do, so this was spending time. And later on, when many of our colleagues grew very weak and ill, but they had to be out. Nobody, unless they were dead completely, that could remain inside that barrack room. So they all had to come out for counting. And as such, we were lined up in a group of 5. So in the middle, we would hold that sick one and physically hold her up so her head could be shown to be counted until that took place, and then they would just sit down and almost collapse. So these things went on twice a day. Now one wonders the rationale behind all this, and I'll tell you why. First and foremost, there was a German woman guard parading all over the camp with a dog, and there were many of them. So they were like the immediate vicinity. In every about 50 yards or 100 yards, whatever distance, there was a tower with a soldier and a gun aimed at us. And if that's not enough, the entire camp was enclosed by electrified wire fence. So if you touched that fence, you were dead. Plus, we looked like hell. I mean, where on earth could we have escaped to? But they kept on counting us and watching over us in that manner. So days went on, there were many atrocities. And while we were there for about a couple of days, there were people who came earlier, so we kept inquiring. I said, do you have an idea what happened to our relatives, where they went, or when are we going to see them or get together with them? I mean, we were asking very naive questions in that context, but we were inquiring. And inevitably, the arm went up, pointing to the 5 chimneys, and they said that's where everybody sent who went to the other side. And then we realized what was really happening, because we kept smelling some horrendous odor of burning flesh. And in the early days, and we had no idea what it is, but the smell is horrible. I mean, burning flesh. And then we saw these chimneys spewing out heavy black smoke and flame. So now we had our answer. We didn't want to accept it. We were still hoping beyond hope, but these were the facts. Life went on. Food was atrocious. They gave us 1 bucket for 5 people, a little container, and the first day they gave us this green liquid that was like coffee or something. The smell was atrocious. So the very first day we kept literally gagging on it. So the people who have been there for a longer time, they would beg for it, and we gave it to them. Little did we realize that this will become our steady diet. So this was just one of the sadness. Anyhow, life went on. Now came another situation called the selection. The selection went on a daily basis, and you were shaking in the boots whether to hide or whether to join this selection group, because you have already heard at that point that the selection meant 2 things. Either there was ample room in the gas chambers to be disposed of, or if you're lucky enough, you'll be shipped to some kind of a labor camp. As a matter of fact, at this point we are located in Birkenau, which is an adjacent, it's more or less a transitory camp for the people they didn't know what to do with, whether they should live or die. But there was not enough room to be killed at that moment, so they put them in this camp. And anyhow, so the selection consisted of 1 to die, 1 to live. But you don't know as you are being paraded in front of these German officers, and they look at you and they point and select. Well, naturally, I was selected among the living, and I was transported to Germany.
Didn't you somehow know that? Didn't someone tell you, like, get in this line, or?
Well, if someone told me, yes, miracles do happen. So, 3 sisters from another community in Hungary, they were older sisters, older than I, befriended me. And as it turned out, they were from the Czechoslovakian border of Hungary. And their cousin from the Czechoslovakian side has been in Auschwitz for a year already. They were taken away much sooner. And she ended up working in the offices. And somehow, because we were given transport lists, and I'll show you later, I have a list of about 1,000 who were selected. But anyhow, through the underground, I really don't know the workings. So the fact of the matter is that this person, this cousin, knew about the 3 sisters, and she sent some messages underground to them. And she sent even some precious gifts, like a toothbrush, and a needle and thread. And a scissor. I remember the scissor. There was no such a thing, so that was the most precious thing. Anyhow, so she kept sending messages, do not get into this transport, and so forth. So on the day when we finally are in the transport, we were hiding because there was no message coming from her. And it was getting pretty late already and we waited. And the hiding was a very, very dangerous thing to do. Remember I told you we cannot go back to the room, but we were hiding in the latrine. We were hiding in another group. I mean, you become so smart in trying to survive that you come up with all these things. And nevertheless, after much agonizing waiting, the order came, get into this transport. Evidently she knew from where it's gonna go. And
How would she give them messages? Like,
there were some workers who were coming into our camp. They would bring food, or they would be doing some ditching, the groundwork, but they belong to another unit. And she has been there for a long time, so you find ways. I really don't know the workings of the underground, but they did it. And anyhow, we were already, we observed that at least 500-600 of the people were already selected. So we snuck in there almost towards the end, and that's how we got in there.